So calm down.
Then use protection.
Calm yourself down, okay?
Girl, I am calm. You look a little riled up.
Jesus.
I might run away and get on one of those boats and just get back to work.
Would it change anything now if you found out?
I can't answer that.
Oh, whoa. Now, see, that's a big deal.
No, not these two as well. Stevie, Mahdi, I was rooting for you guys. Are any of these couples actually in a good place? Well, fear not, because maybe Greg and Joan can break the curse. I mean, if Joan's confidence strutting in there is anything to go by, it feels like she knows she's in charge. She's the one that wears the pants here.
Yo, hold up a second. I said, the is yours anyway.
I feel like with me and Gregory, he tries to be a good husband, but I feel like he needs to grow up.
Now, it's clear for everyone who's watched this season that Greg is madly in love with Joan, right? There's no doubting that. And Joan loves Greg too, I'm sure of it. But she also knows she's very aware that Greg has his faults. He has potential, sure, but he also needs a kick up the arse. He needs some guidance. Like, take, for example, his inability to move out of his mum's house. Like, Greg knows. He's certain that he's gonna catch some flack for that today. And that makes him nervous.
Are you nervous?
No, I just my armpit sweat.
Oh
like
my
crazy.
God. Oh, no need to be nervous.
Guys, can you notice these or?
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but something tells me Greg is in fact very nervous. Now, this is quite the contrast. It's a stark comparison to the confidence with which Joan strutted in there earlier. Perhaps she's aware that this reflects a lot worse on him than it does on her. And as Greg predicted, literally the one thing that everyone wants to know, the only question on everyone's lips is...
Are you still living at home with your mom?
Right now we are, yeah.
You are.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
Wow.
Joan, how do you feel about that?
Very sad.
Sure, no doubt, right? It definitely sucks for newlyweds to have no privacy. But do you know who else this sucks for? Lucille. But before we get to her, for some insane reason, out comes Big Ed. Yeah, what the f*** is he doing here? Well, someone, I don't know who, but someone invited him to share his thoughts. I mean, Lord knows, of all people in the world, he's the last person I'd want to take advice from. But maybe as a realtor, maybe he does have some valid advice here.
You give this gentleman a 90-day notice that he has 90 days to put a roof over your head.
That's bull.
I know that sounds kind of harsh, but...
No. I'm just kidding.
You know the saddest thing about this? It's the fact that this might actually have some legs. After all, Joan's last ultimatum did force him into finding a job. Greg, by his own admission, admits that he's lazy. He knows he has to fix that. And yet, still nothing's changed. The show's been filmed, time has passed, here they are on the tell-all, but their living arrangement remains the same. They're still living under Lucille's roof, and that is causing tension.
You created this whole situation. I think you're being very unfair to your mom as well as Joan. I think you put them in that situation, and they're not at fault at all.
Look, the truth is, the tension that exists between Joan and Lucille only exists because Greg's put Joan in that position. He's the one that's forcing her to live hand in hand, arm in arm with his mum. Like, it's that proximity that's led to this friction. Stick anyone under the same roof for long enough and they're gonna clash, right? I mean, that's all it is. There's no animosity here, but we have seen how sometimes Joan says and does things that hurt Lucille's feelings. From asking her for a lift and yet not inviting her in to see the bridal fitting, to expecting her to leave her own home.
You're always home.
I'm always home?
Most of the times. I think you should go more.
Why would she say something like that?
Joan really does have a blunt way of saying things, but that's just her. Like, I don't think she means it in a bad way. It's just that she doesn't beat around the bush. She says it as it is, and there's something to that. Still, whether you agree with that or you think that she needs to tone it down a bit, the fact remains none of these issues would even exist if Greg had delivered on the promises that he made to Joan. And yet, get this, these two never stop surprising me. Despite the very clear problems with their living situation, these two announce that they've stopped using contraception. They're thinking about, but presumably actively trying, for a child. And that is something that Lucille isn't best pleased with.
I mean, Joan could be pregnant now for all we know.
I really don't want to start all over again in the house, raising children again.
But nothing's going to stop me from trying to get a child. So disrespectful.
Honestly, I just don't get these two. Why don't they prioritise what they need to prioritise, which is finding their own home? Surely once a baby is in the picture, all of the money that they have will go towards the baby, right? So surely they need to get a home first. You can't on the one hand say we haven't moved out because we don't have the money, but then bring a life into this world which needs you to spend money on them. I mean, Lucille explains, right? She says, I'm done raising kids. I've retired. I'm at the stage in my life now where I want to kick back and take it easy. I want you guys to stand on your own 2 feet, be independent before you have a child. And to that, Joan's response actually comes across as a bit rude. It really ruffles some feathers, most notably Shekinah's.
I'm not using protection because you're married. You have a right to decide if I have to get pregnant or not.
That's not, she does. You're living in her house. She does.
Let her say it, not you.
Lucille has clearly just said that she doesn't want more kids in her home. She's already got a big baby to look after. And yet Joan just ignores her. She dismisses her. She says that she trusts Greg. By the time I'm pregnant, she says, I trust that Greg will have a roof over our heads. But dare I say it, that's a heck of a lot of trust to put in a man that got your own wedding invites wrong. This is, after all, the same guy that only got a job when his back was against the ropes. And forgive me for saying, but I suspect that is Joan's playbook here. She's trying to force his hand again, isn't she? She knows that if and when she becomes pregnant, they'll have no option but to move. But whether that is indeed her thought process or not, Joan is done talking about this.
By the time I get pregnant, I'll be out of the house. So calm down.
Then use protection.
Calm yourself down, okay?
Girl, I am calm. You look a little riled up.
Jesus.
Joan's getting very defensive. All that anyone's saying is that maybe they should respect Lucille's wishes and wait until they get pregnant in their own home. Like, is this a cultural thing? Or does Joan just not like being told what to do? Whatever it is, she needs to get over it. The responsible thing is to wait until Greg gets his shit together and they get their own home. But Greg better get his skates on. He better do that fast because Lucille wants to live her own life.
Maybe I could find somebody. Instead of worrying about taking care of more grandchildren.
Joan, take note. This is how you say things without hurting feelings. Lucille is delicately saying, you guys move out, have kids, have 50 for all I care, do whatever, but just leave me out of it. Lucille wants to find love again, which is her right. She deserves it. But having her giant man-baby son in her house having sex without protection is kind of getting in her way. But with Lucille single and Big Ed also single, to everyone's absolute horror, the pair of them begin to get very touchy-feely on the sofa. Could love be right in front of her?
Seeing Big Ed next to my mom, some sexual tension there, my mom touching his shoulders. I did not have that on my bingo card today. I don't think Big Ed would be a good dad. Hell no, it's not happening.
Just imagine it. Just imagine the trauma of going downstairs one morning, walking into your kitchen and finding a naked Big Ed standing there swigging milk out of the carton. That'd definitely be one way of making sure Greg moves out fast, wouldn't it? Now, on that topic, speaking of newlyweds who struggle with privacy, when Jessica and Juan arrive at the tell-all, Juan immediately shows that he's still got one eye out of the door.
Did you see the big cruise ships on Hudson when you were coming in?
I did see some cruise ships. I might run away and get on one of those boats and just get back to work.
Look, he may be joking, but the fact is, Juan constantly bringing up his cruise ship job over and over again all season really feels like there's more to this than just a joke. If it's a joke, it's not landing at this point. It really does feel like Juan wants to leave his family to go back to cruise life. But you know what isn't helping matters? It doesn't help that Jessica isn't fulfilling her promises to him.
We saw Juan ask you to make an attempt to learn Spanish.
It's hard. It's hard to find time. It is still very much a goal of mine.
Yeah, it sounds like Jessica hasn't really made that much of an effort. She hasn't learned anything since we last saw her. Now, while you might argue this isn't a big deal, Juan speaks English, it is a big deal to him. He wants his son to grow up speaking Spanish, feeling connected to both of their cultures. This is one of those things where even a little bit of effort, I think, would go a very long way. No one's saying she needs to be fluent overnight, right? But taking the steps to show that she's making an effort might help Juan to feel a little bit more settled. It might help for Jessica to grow closer to his family too.
I would love if my wife can come to Colombia and talk to my family.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is better not to talk with the family, believe me.
You might be right.
Now, we're gonna have to wait until next week for all the real drama between Jessica and Juan, and from the sounds of things, it looks like it might be quite tasty. You see, we're given a sneak peek of what to expect when Juan admits to getting lots of DMs from other women. Yeah, I wonder how Megan's gonna react to that. Still, now it's time to check in on Stevie and Mahdi, and while the pair of them did walk in together presenting a united front, it doesn't take long before we discover they have some serious cracks in their relationship.
Whenever I feel like I'm gonna say something that Stevie is gonna be mad, I try not to bring it up. But today, we both cannot escape these problems.
Yeah, we all know avoidance is definitely Stevie's MO, but you get the impression at a tell-all that's going to be a very difficult policy to pursue. It's inevitable, isn't it? There will be awkward questions. But before those awkward questions, and believe me, they do come, but first things first, how are they getting on? Well, it turns out their policy to rush their wedding did actually come with some benefits.
I got my green card, and now I'm working.
Congratulations. Okay, now you are working.
Yes.
That must feel great for you.
Yeah, it is.
And for me.
That's great news! Mahdi's clearly settling into life in the States well. I guess their decision to fast-track their wedding was high risk, but also possibly high reward. Like, how many times have we seen in the past? So many couples fall apart because of that dependency on the American partner. That inability for the foreign partner to work. But it turns out Mahdi is 10 steps ahead on that front. He's already got a job. He's working as a personal trainer. And in fact, Stevie is helping him. She's helping him to recruit female clients.
I send them his way.
Yeah.
You send the women his way?
Absolutely. Like, that's his job. One thing a lot of people here probably don't know about me is I was like way over 200 pounds.
Stevie reveals that Mahdi actually played a very large role in her losing that weight. He created personalised workout plans for her. But while that is all positive, things soon take a drastic turn when Saeed and Veronica come out on set and begin to clash.
You haven't been a very supportive friend the whole time. You've been here for 10 years, and you could have helped him figure out how to assimilate. But instead, you've been on her and on them since the second they got here.
Yes, exactly, Veronica. Saeed is terrible. Now, he's not quite as bad as Shekinah's friend Dan, but good God, he's close. He's never had a single nice thing to say about this relationship or Stevie, no matter what she does. Like, Saeed seriously doesn't seem to understand that Mahdi came to America to marry Stevie, not to hang out with him.
I've told Mahdi you can come in the first few months. He can stay with me.
He told you that you could go live with him and you didn't tell me that?
I mean...
And you still communicate with him?
Now, from Mahdi's perspective, he doesn't have any other friends in the States, which is probably why he keeps Saeed around, as annoying as he is. But I just don't understand what Saeed's problem is. Like, he seems to think that somehow Stevie has tricked Mahdi into staying in Mississippi, when that's not true. Mahdi's there because he loves her. But, yet again, Saeed desperately tries to paint Stevie out to be some kind of villain.
I pay my bills. I don't have to have Mahdi to survive. I chose to have Mahdi here because I wanted to be with him.
You're feeding Mahdi, you're accommodating him, and he should be grateful.
How exactly did Saeed take that from what Stevie just said? He's literally trash-talking and causing drama for no reason. And you know what? I'm over it, enough of him. Saeed's seriously just talking nonsense at this point. He's a waste of our time, so let's just focus on Stevie and Mahdi. So, while Stevie clearly doesn't mind Mahdi having female clients, can the same be said about him? How does he feel about Stevie hanging around other women?
Stevie, I want to ask you, have you ever kissed a woman?
Ooh. I'm not gonna answer it.
I feel like she's into girls because she never gives a direct answer.
Joan's right about that. I think we all have our suspicions here. Heck, her own dad has suspicions. Now, the thing is, while everyone may be saying here that she hasn't given him a direct answer, that's just not true. We saw it. I mean, maybe this tell-all was filmed before that last episode aired, but we did see her definitively answer whether or not she's bisexual.
The answer is no. I just allowed you to worry about it for a lot longer than you should have.
It's a yes or a no question, and you haven't told him yes or no. And again, relationships are built on honesty and open communication.
I think Mahdi deserves to know the truth and everything about you.
Now, here's the thing. Even though Stevie did say no, she denied being bisexual. She now admits that she's more attracted to people's energy than their bodies, and she doesn't want a label attached to that.
I think I'm into souls and personalities and who people are more than their body.
I'm sorry, but that doesn't sound like a definitive no, does it? It sounds very much like they're back to square one. So the question is, given that they're married, what does this mean for Mahdi? Like, does this change things for him?
Would it change anything now if you found out?
I can't answer that.
Oh, wow. Now, see, that's a big deal.
Look, for as much as that obviously isn't the answer that Stevie wanted to hear, Mahdi did give her ample opportunity to be honest with him. Like, honestly, at this point, the issue might not even be her sexuality. It might just be that she's so determined to hide this from him. Why hasn't she been honest earlier? Why has she been keeping this from him? Where's the trust?
It is so like, uncover this truth, because if you don't, something might happen. Anything could happen.
Maybe the answer matters to Mahdi. That's how you think.
I didn't ask you.
Well, for as visibly shaken by this revelation as Mahdi appears to be on stage, when we join them backstage during their lunch, Mahdi shows what a nice guy he is by trying to give his wife the benefit of the doubt. He genuinely seems to want to understand her position, where she's coming from.
So does it make sense to you that she's waiting for me to catch up with like the culture gap, age gap and everything, then she opens up to me?
Probably.
Or...
Now, Mahdi has said in the past that he might not be okay with Stevie being into women, so unintentionally but also his own fault, he has made it quite difficult for Stevie to come out and be honest with him. But, and this is a big but, it is a very welcome sight, like a very rare sight on this show, to see someone with the level of introspection that Mahdi appears to have. I mean, here he is, working out that perhaps he needs to change first before he can get answers from Stevie. And that, you've got to say, is a very positive sign for the future of their relationship. It's why I am genuinely rooting for Stevie and Mahdi. That is, I'm rooting for them as long as Saeed stays out of the picture.